Oh, hello, and welcome to Ardente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Hellbell.
And it's never not weird when I say my name right after you.
No, it indeed isn't. Unfortunately, this week, Mikey, the E stands for evil, could not attend. He's going off to visit some demon family out in the universe. So, but we are pressing on with a Pokepasta. You know, it's summer. I usually kind of actually attribute the summer to like anime stuff and like Pokemon and stuff like that for some reason. So I was like, oh, we should find a Pokemon-based creepypasta.
It works.
Yeah. So we found this one, Hellbell, by XanCrews on creepypasta.wiki. And before we dive too far into it, we should give our initial recommendations as always. I'm going to partially recommend this one. Yeah. Same. Sames.
Mm-hmm.
You
never know. Our thoughts might sway each other one way or another by the end of this.
Yeah, indeed. So, let's find out why we gave that mid recommendation.
Wishy-washy recommendation.
Yeah, that wishy-washy partial recommendation for this.
Wishy-washy sounds like a Pokemon.
I mean, honestly, that could be wishy-washy. Wow, Buffett. But yeah, let's find out why, starting with the rundown. Featuring Nair. So Nair receives a bunch of Pokemon cards and games after her older brother gets fed up and tired of the series because of the supposed lackluster status they have for Generation 4, which was Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl. His loss is her gain, however, as, among other things, Nair gets her brother's copy of Pokemon Diamond, which she really wanted initially, but had to settle for getting Pearl since her bro got there first. And she just really likes the legendary from Diamond more than the one from Pearl. Dialga versus Palkia. Bro's game file has been augmented with action replay cheats and codes, giving him all the Pokemon in the Pokedex and a bunch of level 100 legendaries. After playing around with these cheat codes and this game file, Nair decides to do some trading on the Pokemon Trading Center or the trading system, which you can do seeing what random Pokemon they can get from randos around the world. She puts up a trade for one of her level 100 Rayquazas for a random Bronzong. And after a bit, actually gets a bite. The Bronzong is named Hellbell, title drop. Also, Bronzong is a bell Pokemon, so it fits. Mm-hmm. From a user named Biels. This makes Nair initially very nervous and uneasy, as they are a bit religious, and the naming conventions are a tad sacrilegious. Even more so with the stats of the Bronzong being all 666. The strangeness continues further when she tries to release the Pokemon because she doesn't like the name and stuff like that, and she's just like, I'm not going to use this. So she tries to like release the Pokemon in the system in the game's mechanic to release a Pokemon, but she can't. And in fact, it's holding some messages addressed, at least seemingly, to her character. It wants her to take it somewhere, specifically to the Lost Tower area in the game's world. Following along, she can't fly directly to this location, which you can do normally in the game, but she can get to like the closest location and then walk there. And as she approaches the Lost Tower area, she notices NPC sprites are all missing, save for a crazed old man sprite running around, repeatedly shouting, ring the bell, over and over and over again. Reaching the tower, a haunting bell sound rings, and a hole opens up in the center of the base of the tower, which Nair walks into with her character. The sound of the bell ringing continuing. Down below is a twisted dark red version of the place where the holy Arceus, the like god Pokemon, usually stands in its temple or in its location in the game, and it's in this strange new like level area that Nair meets a gentleman sprite who thanks them for returning Hellbell. They want to know their Nair's name, and at first Nair gives or starts to give the character's name, but the sprite stops her and asks for her name specifically. Unable to really like stop themselves, they sign their name in the DS touchscreen and then blow on it as though it were actual ink to let it dry. Doing this reveals that her soul now belongs to the man who is the gentleman sprite, as the old character sprite she has been playing with transforms into one of Nair's likeness. Then Hellbell uses imprisonment on her sprite, and the DS dies shortly after. Now Nair doesn't eat, doesn't drink, can't eat, can't drink, and doesn't sleep much, as she is bound, or as she is a bound soul to the devilish fiend that was the gentleman sprite and Hellbell. She doesn't know where Hellbell is now, but suspects they're out there somewhere in the trading system and warns the reader about making such suspicious trades. Finn. So, yeah, that was the rundown for Hellbell. And I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, I've got a couple. I'm going to start with one that's like really like, I saw it and I was like, that's wrong. And it's actually a Pokemon's name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So here's the sentence for it. Here's the quote. I received hundreds of cards to add to my collection. The Blastios plush he won at King's Island 9 years ago, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, Blastios is actually supposed to be Blastoise.
Maybe it's like a Chinese knockoff one.
Yeah, maybe.
It's only got like a weird name.
It's only got like one cannon.
Yeah, but it's like in the
green.
middle.
Yeah, it's all green. And
yeah.
It's just one of those like Chinese knockoff ones that you find from like on various sites and such, or like when you go to like a carnival.
Yeah. That being said, it's probably a typo, but
yeah, I mean it's such a simple typo too. It's just like the I and the O need to be like reversed. That's it.
Yes.
But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. That chapter of his life came to a sad close, while mine just gained something to continue on. So I had a little bit of an issue with this sentence. So like at first I was like, continue on with maybe at the end. Honestly, I'm not sure how I like this sentence, like if I like the sentence or not, because it makes it seem like Pokemon is the only thing this character has going for them. Like, and I don't think that's what it's trying to convey, but that's how I'm reading. I keep reading it. So maybe it should be like some more lines. It should read more along the lines of this. That chapter of his life came to a sad close while I gathered up the pieces and added to my own. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking this, but it just felt like the original like quote, like that chapter of his life has come to a sad close while mine just gained something to continue on. I have nothing else but Pokemon.
Oh, I see. So yeah. You were saying like it was almost like she like wasn't able to continue on life in general without more Pokemon,
or like just like yeah, or just like it's like if I didn't have my my Pokemon collection, I would probably kill myself or die. Like I know that's not. I know that's not what it's probably trying to say, but like the way I keep the way I've tried reading it different ways, like in different inflections, and I keep coming. I was like that bit in my head like keeps popping up. I was like, I need to change this because obviously this is not what they're trying to say. But if I'm thinking this like constantly, like I was reading this, like maybe other people are. It's like one of those situations.
Like, it's a creepypasta, so you know
I have nothing to live for but Pokemon.
Yeah, I think the whole problem is the whole continue on part.
Yeah, that's really what's bugging me about it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's why I tried to like fix it a little bit with like while like after like the brothers like chapter came to a sad close with Pokemon, but they like gathered the pieces and added it to their own chapter, like kind of thing. Not just because it makes it seem a little bit more like you're more obsessed than you probably are trying to get across. At least Again, maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe I was like in a weird headspace for this. I don't know.
I mean, we have little to go on at the very start, so it's hard to know like the headspace of any of the characters right from the get-go.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, a little rewrite on that would be good for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So the next one, welcome to my tense talk.
Oh, great.
Here's the quote. I know my brother had visited the city before. I don't know why I couldn't go there, but I didn't take the time to actually think about it. I just flew to Hearthome instead. So I think it should be, I knew my brother had visited the city before. I didn't know why I couldn't go there. I didn't take the time to actually think about it. I just flew to Hearthome instead.
Yeah.
Also, I did also add a period in the sentence because I felt like, so I put a period. The entire thing is basically a full like a long sentence with like 3 commas. So I took the secondary comma and made it a period just to kind of break up the sentence into 2 workable sentences,
Mm-hmm.
and got rid of the but after the second comma, so it would fit better. And then my next one here, ring the bell, 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 infinitum.
Yeah.
That meant nothing to me. I didn't bother speaking to him again. I just continued on to the tower. Okay. Yes, there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, roughly 6 lines of ring the bell repeated over and over in all caps. And I get it. It's probably a transcription from like a dialogue text box in the game. But I think for brevity, and maybe even like some just for like clarity, it would have been nice if it had mentioned that, like, for clarity, that it was like a dialogue box, or for brevity, you don't have to like add like every single fucking bell to ring the bell.
Yeah.
It's
It
just
does.
kind of, yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Like maybe a couple of them, and then like dot dot dot, kind of thing, maybe. But
then you might think that the dialogue box that popped up was just 2 or 3 of them, then an ellipses, which looks a lot less insane.
I guess I don't know. It just to me initially it feels like filler. Like you're just trying to fill some space in the in your story. But I can also see your point. Like maybe it's like to like help get across that this character is like just speaking nonsense, or it's just like nuts in the game.
Yeah.
But then for clarity, maybe it should actually say that like it was a dialogue box, like like it was pulled from a dialogue box kind of thing.
It did, honestly.
Not that there was the later one that it pops up with a dialogue box, but in this instance it doesn't say a dialogue box. I think when the gentleman is talking, the dialogue box is mentioned.
Well, also the only way dialogue is ever shown in this game is through a dialogue box.
That's true. Yeah,
it's already assumed that any dialogue would be in a box, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't. I honestly just kind of saw it as like a little tedious. It's like, all right, I'm not going to read all the ring the bells. It's just like a long bit.
You don't have to read all of them.
I know.
You can see at a very fast glance that they are all the same thing repeated.
I get that, but at the same time, then what's the purpose of it even? Like, like I'm not like saying get rid of all the ring the bells, but like maybe cut it down. Even by half?
I just didn't think it was that big of a deal.
I honestly don't really think it's that big a deal either. I'm just putting out there that like this seems like kind of just a filler a bit. And you know what's another thing about this is like if this had been like a screenshot, like if they'd use a screenshot from a game like they'd made that had this as like a dialogue box, I'd be fine with it. But because it's like text, like on like it's a text format and some of that in the story, it just comes off as a little too much. Like there's just too much of it.
I will say this: looking at basically the size of dialogue boxes in the Pokemon games, you could not possibly fit all that in one dialogue box.
Yeah,
unless it's a situation where it's like you'll see the first 5 or 6 of them, and then you hit continue, and it scrolls up more, and continue, scrolls up more and more and more until he's actually exhausted all of his dialogue, which might be actually what it is.
But then that part where he has to scroll, I actually kind of want that in the sentence afterward, like that follows, where like they had to scroll through, and it's like I didn't know what this meant, so I just kept going. Like,
yeah, but it does say babbled over and over for an annoyingly long amount of time.
Well, congrats.
So it does straight up say it takes a long time to get through it.
Yeah. And congrats, you annoyed me when I read the story.
Apparently. So, like, realistically, in the game, there's probably, like, 4 or 5 instances of it per screen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a little more clarification on that would not do it any harm.
No. But I'll move on from that one. So I took the stairs and the bell, which I now assume was Hellbell, considering that Bronzong is indeed a sort of bell, continued to ring slowly. So I had to fix this. So I took to the stairs as the bell, and then the brackets go on, like continued to ring slowly. And I'd almost even consider like taking the bracketed bit there, like where after it's like, so I took to the stairs as the bell continued to ring slowly, and then in brackets, which I assume was Hellbell, considering that Bronzong is indeed a sort of bell. Like have that at the end instead of like having like cutting the sentence in half basically and insert like this bracketed bit. Like, don't get me wrong, bracketed like quotes or bracketed lines are fine in stories sometimes, but like in this case, it kind of like I didn't realize that I was also continuing a sentence after it because it was so long. Like it literally went down to the next line, and then I had to then I started reading. It's like, oh right, and then the continued to ring slowly is from the bell thing that was mentioned before the brackets. So, yeah,
that'd help it for sure.
Yeah, and then my next one. Finally, I reached the end of the pathway, which was just as small 4x4 platform, and the bell stopped ringing. So I think it should be, finally I reached the end of the pathway, which was just a small 4x4 platform.
Yes. I have that as well.
Cool. And second last one. Why I was listening to this, watching it all play out when I could easily just turn it off or star a completely new game, I don't know. I think it's like or start, not star. It was just missing that T at the end.
Oh, I missed that. Oh,
yeah. And then my last one, I was unable to make and changes after that. I think and should be changed to any. So I was unable to make any changes after that.
Yes.
And that is the end of my grammar inquisition. So my gamer.
See, it's weird, right? It's weird.
Yeah.
Yes, let's see what I have left. You got one of mine, which means I only got 2 left technically. So my first one, I don't believe you got this. He didn't say anything that made sense, but babbled over and over for an annoyingly long amount of time, much like when you speak to a specific cyclist on the bike trail in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. So it needs an extra comma in there, even though this sentence already has 3 commas in it. It needs a break.
Yeah.
Basically in between time and much. So it would be, he didn't say anything that made much sense, but babbled over and over for an annoyingly long amount of time, comma, much like when you speak to a specific cyclist on the bike trail in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Because otherwise it's time much as well.
Time much.
Mm-hmm.
Time much. Yeah, exactly. Cops. Honestly, nobody's gonna get that because that was like definitely a huge in joke between like you, me, and Mikey.
Also, how did we both go to cops? Meanwhile, it's Time Watch? Like,
No,
why is that cops?
because Mikey and I, so when we first got the RPG Time Watch from like Gen Con a couple of years back, me and Mikey had the idea for a game which was like Time Cops.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You haven't even said that many times, but
And it
just
infected
me
your
hearing
mind.
Time Much made me go. No, it's for cops.
That is the strength of memes, my friend.
Apparently, yeah. Wow.
Even ones that are like within circles of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's there on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and my next one, I have a conjunction junction that I put together while you were doing your your rundown.
All right.
And next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot, doot.
But each time I tried to put it into the GTS, wouldn't that be GPS? What are we talking about? Oh, no, what's GTS? What is that?
The global trading system.
Never mind. Restart.
Certainly not the greater. Certainly not the Greater Toronto Sprawl.
Yeah, that's. I really stumbled over that,
Hey,
which is
it's
a
because-
reference to the area, the city that we played in our Shadowrun game that we played on our sister podcast one last time.
Plug.
Yes, but okay, I'll start over there. But each time I tried to put it into the GTS, the game informed me that the Pokemon couldn't be offered in a trade. It was finally getting more specific, which I found oddly relieving rather than feeling a little uneasy, as I probably should have been. But when I picked Stalacian Town from the map, the game informed me that I couldn't fly there. Finn. Because those are the only three I could find in short order. Because someone had to pick up the torch, because Mikey wasn't here.
Did we?
Yes.
Did we? that Thor Ragnarok.
Let's go on.
Yeah.
And that
sure.
bit being...
and the reason
Mikey,
why Mikey and now Gamer does this is because
I do it in his stead when he cannot do it.
Yes.
Because there are sentences throughout the story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words to use. And
Yes.
we grab them and put them together into a short story with sometimes hilarious results and sometimes not. See this
Like
episode.
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't all be bangers. They can't all
No.
be aim at full force. It was a squirrel.
Of course not, no. Like, half of the reason of doing this is for potential silliness, but also, like, we're doing grammar and technically helping with editing, and that's what this is. And it's a lot better to just glaze over all of the words, sentences that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ins, or buts, because there's always better words, than doing it one at a time.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's actually a very efficient way of doing it, the way that Mikey does this.
Mhm.
But that's the end of my grammar in yellow.
All right. Then I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts. So I'm going to start with this quote here. In fact, I wanted Diamond. Dialga was 100 times better looking than Palkia. And I rather enjoyed the thought of finally getting to be the one to catch it this time around instead of having to hack one or trade for it. I gotta agree with Nair here. When Diamond and Pearl came out, I specifically wanted Diamond because I liked the design of Dialga over Palkia. Like, even though it's like a quadruped, like kind of like a long neck dinosaur kind of looking thing versus like a T-Rex kind of statured looking Palkia. Palkia just it's too round. I liked the harder edges look around
the edgy Pokemon.
Yeah, I wanted the edgier Pokemon. I don't know, I just like the spinier, like spikier version of Dialga over the very rounded, soft, bubbly version of Palkia.
So I'm gonna say this: Palkia, he has like life preserver shoulder pads.
Yeah,
and his head is a penis. I mean,
yeah.
His head is a long shaft-shaped thing with a helmet on it that ends at two round things.
Yeah.
So
Whereas Dialga is essentially what happens when a xenomorph latches into like chest bursts out of a long neck dinosaur.
Yeah, kind of.
Like I'm looking
Yeah,
at like
he has like bone armor.
it has a giant head and like has like the spiky bits.
Yeah, he is way cooler and not anthropomorphic penis like like
Palkia
Palkia is.
Yeah. Yeah, Palkia, like it has like there is kind of like a knightliness to it, like almost looks like it has like knight armor and stuff like that. But honestly, like no, Dialga does it better for me than Palkia, like design wise.
Honestly, I can't get past the penis.
I would definitely pass on Palkia and smash Dialga.
Oh, we're doing smash and
No,
pass.
no. All right, moving on.
Yeah, please do.
His save information said he had all the Pokemon in his dex, even the ones. Sorry. So that said, like his dex is like, man, all the Pokemon in his dex. No, nothing in strength, nothing in con, nothing in intelligence.
Oh,
God, I'm a nerd.
I thought you were hearing that as a different word because I was just referencing how he looks like a penis.
It is dicks.
Yep.
His that. Oh no. That is definitely what they call a Pokedex in Pokemon pornos.
Oh, definitely.
Pokedex? Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
God damn it. All right, moving on, continuing on. So his save information said he had all the Pokemon in his dex, even the ones that had yet to be released through wireless events, which reminded me that he really enjoyed using action replay codes to enhance his gaming experience. So admittedly, I never had an action replay, though I recall like seeing them for sale and such like that. It's nice to know that every generation is going to have its own version of like the Game Genie or the Game Shark.
Yeah.
And
everybody's got a cheat.
Yeah. And also, do you see what I did there? Generation or generations? Like because Pokemon have generations. Also, I'm old.
Ha!
Yeah. Speaking of age, this quote here. While the Pokemon encountered with this code were about as weak as if you had given them a large number of rare candy, I still recall losing to these 6 frequently. This whole thing honestly gave me like a sense of like nostalgia, or like gave me a nostalgia trip, because I remember using like the missing no cheat to get like hundreds of rare candies to level up my Pokemon to like high levels. But I also recall like doing that actually like really like hampered their stats. Like you actually got better stats by training your Pokemon up to like up levels rather than using like rare candies to level them up.
They actually programmed that in?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure that's how that worked.
Oh, so a level 100 that's been cheated all the way up is probably about as strong as like a level 75 one that you actually trained or something like that.
Yeah, like and like they'll still like crush like a lower Pokemon, but like stat wise, they're actually pretty pathetic compared to like one that was actually leveled up using training. Yeah,
that's cool. I appreciate that.
But yeah, the story definitely gave me a strong sense of like nostalgia, because again, like I grew up playing like the original Pokemon games, and I even like did get into Pokemon Diamond. I think Diamond and Pearl were like the last ones I got into, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had more nostalgia reading this creepypasta, honestly, because back when I was a wee lad, I like collected some Pokemon cards from like Gen 1, and I played a little bit of like Pokemon Red on someone's Game Boy I borrowed, and I beat the shit out of Pokemon Snap on the N64.
Hell yeah. And the Wii. Remember when I got the port for the Wii?
Oh, that's true.
We played the shit out of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. But that's honestly like all of my exposure to Pokemon. For some reason I never got into it a whole lot.
I got so hard into Pokemon like growing up. Like it's funny because I didn't have a GameCube or like a DS until like late into my teens. But like even like when in the infant stage of like Pokemon and stuff like that, like I was hooked on the cards. I loved the movies and the show. It's funny. I vividly remember my mom telling me like Pokemon is gonna like go away in like a couple of years. It's like a trend, a fad. And I look back, it's like Pokemon is still a fucking empire.
Oh, of course.
Like
the Pokepire is huge.
We find they just recently they finally got rid of Ash as the protagonist in the anime series, and are moving on to a brand new protagonist.
Really?
Yeah.
That's ballsy.
Yeah. I think it happened.
It's strong enough to hold up now.
Yeah, I think it happened a few years ago, but that it was they decided to retire Ash as the protagonist of the series and move on to a new character. So, and even a new Pikachu. Like it's not Pikachu, but it's like a new Pikachu mascot or like character.
It's the current generation Pikachu.
Yeah, guess what it is? It's a Pikachu with a captain's hat, and his name is Captain Pikachu.
Oh, it's still just Pikachu?
It's Pikachu, but it's not Ash's Pikachu, but it's like a sassy and confident Pikachu with a sailor's like captain hat.
Wait, does he speak English or something?
No, he doesn't. He's just Pikachu.
How is the sass portrayed?
In his motions, like in how he acts and stuff like that. Like he still does like Pika-Pee and stuff like that, but it's like all like it's just done like through like his actions rather than words and such.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's and I mean like I don't even know what generation we're on now, but like this one,
the main Pokemon in the anime isn't a current generation Pokemon to try to like push the current gen. They're still even at this state, this like late in the game, they're like, no, Gen 1, everyone loves it.
Well, it's interesting because I only know like bits and pieces of it, but like it sounds like it started with actually like one of the new starters the character has.
Yeah.
They quickly gave us Captain Pikachu.
Yeah, so they probably started the show out with all the new ones, and then it wasn't getting much traction. Then Pikachu showed up, and then all the views showed up too.
Yeah, I mean, like it or not, like Pikachu is kind of their mascot.
He is the best. He is yellow.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be fair,
for a fact,
the new starter is a green a green grass based one. So like I'm on board. So
that's fair.
They're the chosen starter, I think, for the new character. But anyway, like we both we have like, but you still grew up with Pokemon, like in some
for sure.
Yeah. So like this is sort of like has a little bit of nostalgia. Just like I had a little bit more, I think, because I was kind of don't say cultist.
You're what?
I was Pokeballs deep into Pokemon.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, Dad.
Proud dad moment. Proud dad joke moment.
I was like, it popped in my head to start saying. I was like, I should stop. But the slightest bit of encouragement will have it come out.
Do it.
God. All right. So moving on from that. Yeah. So again, the story, like it's definitely kind of, it almost like also reads kind of like like we're getting have a text let's play of this guy's interaction with this weird like hacked in quest line that's been added to the story.
Yeah.
Been added to the game. So, but yeah, I'll move on to the next thing here that I have. Once in the trading network, I offered up for a Bronzong that I had picked at random out of the first list. And there's the Pokemon of the story's titular Hellbell, because it's literally a bell Pokemon. Because that's when I realized this was like, oh, Bronzong. It's like, oh yeah, that's why it's called Hellbell, because it's the monster, the Pokemon in question, in the titular Pokemon of the story is going to be Bronzong because it's a bell Pokemon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll move. So yeah, this talking about like so it's like it's a Hellbell because it's a bell type Pokemon, Bronzong and such. Also, classic Vigipasta trope here, getting a weird spooky Pokemon through a trading form, through some kind of trading system from a stranger. This is basically like this game or this generation's like yard sale thrift store story, where like somebody picks up a random creepy item or thing from like from through a trade of some kind.
Yeah.
It's like a digital version of that, or like an online version of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing here, as soon as I'd said like, oh, hell, that's why it's called Hellbell, because this is going to be about Bronzong. And then it's like, long story short, I received a shiny Bronzong named Hellbell. And as soon as I read that, I was like, title drop.
Mm-hmm.
We got the story. We got the story's title. But the next thing I have here, I was shocked to get a shiny in return. I never got a shiny when I traded in Pearl, but the name was unsettling to me. Being a slightly religious person, I'm not comfortable speaking about anything pertaining to hell or anything like that. Even writing this makes me feel like I'm provoking a similar event to happen again. Okay, sure. You do mention that you're a bit religious, so like that explains why you're uncomfortable with this. But I'm sorry, like I couldn't help but kind of scoff at the description of being unsettled by the name of a Pokemon called Hellbell. And don't get me wrong, it's a good name and a title for the Pokemon and the story involving this particular Pokemon. But that initial reaction of like I was a bit unsettled by the name and stuff like that. It just kind of came off to me anyways as a little bit silly. It also kind of is a creepypasta trope now that I think about it. And if I'm being honest, for better or worse, of like being like the character like reading something in a video game that they're playing and being like almost kind of like silly in the way they're like unsettled by what they read, even though like the reader's just like, why are you scared? Like, why are you unsettled?
Well,
yeah.
Part of the problem is we don't know we don't know too much about the narrator. Narrator could be quite young.
That is true. Yes.
Could be A, quite young, and B, in a very religious family. So like any talk of hell is like shush around the house, like you don't.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like there was sort of a not satanic panic like in the 80s, but there was sort of a panic among certain religious families and stuff like that with regards to Pokemon and stuff, especially with the gambling angle of like, or like how they perceived as a gambling angle.
There was a Poke Panic? There was a Poke Panic?
There was in the 90s. Yeah, when Pokemon first came out. And so most of it I think had to do with like the fact that like kids were trading cards and stuff like that in the schoolyard and stuff. But like there was definitely a Poke Panic.
Yeah, interesting.
Now again, like you're right. Like this character might be like very young, and so like it may make sense to that degree. Also, at this point, we haven't read the part where like their soul is literally bound to the devil, and so like maybe that's why they're feeling a little uneasy, easy of like writing this in case of like they're provoking like a similar event to happen again. Like that is sort of almost like
just realized that this is all happening after the fact. Well, I know it's all happening after the fact now.
Yeah.
It's basically just like, sorry, when I was reading the story, I didn't think of it as if after the events of the story, the character sat down and wrote this and put it on the internet as a
it was like happening in the moment kind of thing, or
I was just stuck in the moment for some reason. But yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah, again, like I'm sort of like I'm kind of humming and hawing about this opinion of this, but like I don't know, like when I first read it, I did scoff when it was like I'm so unsettled by the name. It's like, okay. But I can also like the story does give us some like clues and some things in it that like explain their unsettledness. So
yeah,
I can't gripe too much about it. It just personally it feels a little silly. But like again, we don't like know exactly how old this character is, and also there are some circumstances that happen like by the end that we're like, okay, I can kind of understand your weariness now.
Yeah, but you couldn't say that up front because it would spoil things.
Though it does foreshadow it in a way, because it says even writing this makes me feel like I'm provoking a similar event to happen again. I was like, what event? Or are they just talking about their little adventure into with this weird hack, or are they talking about the full events that happened? But
yes,
yeah. But I'll move on away from that to my next thing here. Clearly, it was hacked, but it's what I get for offering up a hack first. This is in regards to like him or her creating a cheat code version of like Rayquaza for seemingly this hacked Bronzong. Mm-hmm. And I read this part and I was like, oh my god, this story has a moral to it. you get what you give, and the dangers of cheating the system. Nintendo, did you put someone up to this?
Wow.
Because I mean, Nintendo is like goes real hard on like their like anti-theft and piracy and like cheat stuff in their games. So
it's interesting because they made the Game Genie, or did they make? Who made Game Genie?
I don't think any of the cheat code things were made by the companies they do. They're always like third party. I thought. Hang on, I'm actually looking that up.
Endorsed by Nintendo. And
it
like
might,
they put
you know,
Game Genie codes in the old Nintendo powers and stuff.
okay, that is fair, yeah. Yeah, it was designed by Codemaster, sold by Camerica, and Galoob was Game Genie.
Made by Codemasters, like the same people that made Operation Flashpoint.
I guess. Hang on, maybe.
Might be different people.
Yeah.
Not important.
Oh my God,
I mean, they're important people. I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This information is not important.
Oh, you know, it probably was Codemasters, like the game, because they've made a bunch of games.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I just like this little like jab, like it's just like a funny little jab I had because like again, Nintendo tends to hammer down on things like this, or like have creepy little things for people who cheat in their games.
Yes.
And honestly, I was writing these up in the moment as I was reading the story. So like this part, I was kind of a little bit not on par, but like this was also a moral for like what happens later. It's like, I mean, yeah, if you're cheating, you're sinning, and you're gonna end up in hell, or your soul's gonna be captured by some hell monster or something.
I mean, the last line straight up says that this is a warning. You caution using the training system.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's literally my last thing here is just like, because yeah, at the end, I'll just jump over to this one, the ending here. So it's like, I don't know what became of that Pokemon, but if I received it, someone else is surely to do so. Use caution while using the trading system. Dun dun dun. And yeah, I thought it was an interesting twist that the devil, BL's a bub, is using the Pokemon trading system to capture unsuspecting souls. Like, gotta catch them all.
Yeah. Wow, he sure is.
Also, perhaps they're targeting specifically cheating, like individuals who are cheating the system or sinning.
Because they're bad.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like getting on the naughty list from Santa or going to the Bad Boys Club. I do wonder, though, if Nair is now a slave to BLs. Or if they are a slave now to BLs. Why? So this is sort of also a thing from what I said earlier about like their religious like hesitance and creepiness of this. Why be hesitant to repeat Hellbell's name and or 666 from earlier, like when they were writing the story? Is it for fear things happening again? Are they afraid that they're just going to double down on enslavement on their soul? Like they're already enslaved. Their soul's already like enslaved by Beelzebub. Like what more
could get worse?
I guess maybe like maybe they're afraid that like writing this story and like mentioning like the Hellbell and like 666 thing from earlier, it's going to bring Biel's attention to her, and that she's writing this story as a warning out there, just like to try and like warn people away from the trading system or from Bell's tactics or Biel's tactics.
Yeah, because as far as we know right now, she is able to like live her life normally, aside from not sleeping or being able to drink or eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the demon that's possessing her gets wise to this and doesn't like it, I'm sure you can make it a lot worse on her. Or, kill her and drag her to hell.
Yeah, basically. Also, I just realized something with Biel's name. It's not just that it's like it's a I don't know what the I can't remember what that type of word is when you cut a word in half and you use only part of it. But it's not just like Biel's ... above. Biel's Hellbell, Biel, Bells.
This might be a stretch.
It might be, but I just like it. Like as soon as I read, like I was like, we've been talking about like the Bell thing, and like I just said like I've said Biel's a couple of times, and I was like, wait, Biel's, Bells, god damn it,
it's close-ish.
Yeah, but I'll move on to the next thing I have here.
It's close enough you could rhyme it in a song.
Yeah. So the next thing I have is I selected the deposit Pokemon option and selected Hellbell to release it. But each time the party sprite shrunk away, it immediately came back with a message saying something along the lines of, Hellbell doesn't want to leave you. So at this point in the story, I was like, is this story going to make me feel bad for this Bronzong? And I mean, update, no, it really doesn't. But there was a moment where it was like, are we going to have like a sad, tragic thing where like Hellbell's been traded and like, but like is now like we're gonna have like this like sad like the whole like issue in when you're dealing with Pokemon, you're sometimes dealing with, or you're sometimes using it as a analog or a representation of like animal abuse and stuff. Are we gonna have like a fucking like abandonment thing going on here? But no, we didn't get that. It's actually going straight for the hell and demon thing.
That being said, we still don't know. I mean, it still could have an abandonment angle that we're not aware of. It continued because we don't know much about like Hellbell itself.
I don't. I feel like it's more or less like Biel's set brings like Hellbell is in on it. The Bronzong's in on this scam that Biel's is doing is running. Yeah. Like it's like it's convincing kids like who trade for it to take it to the specific area that it's like hacked into their game so they can get their soul state caught by Biel's. So yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing here. Lost Tower. It was finally getting more specific, which I found oddly relieving rather than feeling a little uneasy, as I probably should have been. At least I knew where it wanted to go. Maybe it'd leave my party after I took it there. I'd like to know why this Pokemon was making my game behave so strangely. The Pokemon was hacked, not the game itself. As far as I know, a decent hack doesn't affect the game, and a bad hack can make it crash. But this was doing neither. More like something in between. So when I got to this point, we didn't have anything real idea about like the devil stuff. But I really liked the angle that this was almost seeming like it was like kind of adding, where this idea of like this hacked Pokemon that you got from the trading thing added in like a modded quest in your game.
Yeah, somehow.
I don't know that, but like obviously it's probably like way less realistic than it should be. But it's just such an interesting idea of like, because that's how I would take it as like, wait, did I get some weird like virus that like added in like a weird like it added in some extra code to make a quest line in my game? What the fuck? And I think even like the character does kind of suggest that in a way, or like they don't suggest it like in a blatant way like I kind of wanted them to. Like I did kind of want them to like have that like possible speculation, but they do I think bring up something along the lines of like where like the game had added this quest for their game, or added in this new level, this new area like underneath the Lost Tower area. So
here's the thing though. Nair's never played this game before.
That's true.
That's the whole point of the story.
Yeah.
And for all Nair knows, as soon as the player character acquires a Bronzong, it goes through this event. Yeah,
that's what they said in the game, in the story. Like he suspected that like the getting this Bronzong or getting this Pokemon had like unlocked some secret part of the game.
Yeah, like that's just normally coded in. You acquire a standard one. Getting one that's named this way and hacked didn't change that.
Or even like getting a shiny one, right? Like yeah. Like that would be a really cool angle if that's like what the story was trying to do. And then we got this. I don't get me wrong. I like the supernatural angle because I did not actually really see it coming until like the very end, until like the gentleman sprite showed up, and I was like, oh, the gentleman was the Biel's. God damn it. But yeah, so I'll move on from that to my next thing here. After a moment of complete silence, the sound of a deep brazen bell began to slowly toll. If you're curious about how that sounded exactly, start up your Heart Gold or Soul Silver game. That's that bell. That's the noise. So I actually did pull up my my Heart Gold game on my DS, and yeah, like right as soon as you start the game, there's just like a boom. Like one of those deep like temple bell kind of ringing from like a Japanese like temple bell that goes on for a few times, and then it gets into a more like whimsical like kind of lighthearted sort of like nice tune. But the first couple of rings is kind of haunting, and like it's also very
like
sudden.
With this like this story overlaid over top of them.
Yeah, exactly. If it was just, especially since it's just the bell that's tolling, like rather than adding this like whimsical music, like a few tolls after, like if it's just the tolling, like that is kind of a haunting bell toll, and also like it's very like sharp as well when it first happens, so it would almost be like a jump scare.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
still
then
do wonder if Hellbell is actually just being a good boy to his master. So, now that I
yeah,
think
no,
about it.
yeah, he
Because
actually
like
like
in that scene where like you're walking closer and closer, and the ringing is getting quicker and quicker. That's just him getting excited to see his owner.
yeah, it's like a dog wagging its tail faster and faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I honestly, again, like Hellbell was in on it was an inside job.
Yeah.
It's like when a kitten goes out on the road, like when somebody's like walking, and there's like like a dozen other kittens in the long grass waiting for the one that's gone out to like basically let them know that like the coast is clear, or like we found somebody that'll take care of us.
Yes.
It's like that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'll move on to the next thing I have. Yeah, you fade into view one space ahead in front of my sprite. It was just a simple gentleman sprite, and the party sprite of Hellbell came out of me and stood in the space between us, facing him. The game informed me that I handed over Hellbell. Next, a thing popped up on the touchscreen. It looked like the part of the trainer card where you sign your name. Again, the voice spoke. Would you mind telling me your name, please, so that I may thank you properly? As soon as I read that, I was like, don't do it. That serves the devil. And
Yeah.
I did that jokingly, but then update. Wait, he was actually the devil?
His name is BLs.
And then that's when I realized BLs. Ah, fuck. And then we get the
Did you
whole
just catch that he was Beelzebub at the end?
No. Oh no. Like I caught it as soon as I said, like as soon as I saw BLs, I was like, oh,
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with like 666 stats and like Hellbell and some of that. Like they're going real into the naming conventions of hell.
Mm-hmm. He's not trying to hide it at all.
Yeah. But yeah, like I just love that. It was like, because I was like, don't do it. That serves the devil. And then I was like, wait, no, this actually is going the devil's like bargain route or the devil's pact route. And actually, speaking of that, regardless, I began writing my brother's character's name, which was Dust. I made the first stroke. It was in black ink, just like normal, and made a D. But the voice stopped me. No, your real name, please. I can't thank you with a false name, you know. My heart felt like it stopped for a second and sunk right into my stomach before violently bounding back up into my chest. How the hell did the game know that I wasn't signing my real name? Okay, up till this point, I could have maybe chalked all this to just being like a weird hack or like a virus or something like that because of the trade and such. With the extra like quest and online and all that kind of stuff. This is actually where like things got like interesting on a supernatural angle.
Yes.
Because it was like, oh shit, poop. There's a ghost in the machine talking to him. Also, I'm gonna bring this up now because I don't actually have it in my notes, but like I thought about it this morning. This is actually a Pokepasta where where we're getting a character who's playing a game, and something actually happens to the player in an interesting and like dynamic way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like,
I was scared.
or like drops to the floor on your knees. I've abandoned my boy. as like you realize that like the Pokemon that you left in a save file from when you were a kid and you come back to it as an adult, and the Pokemon are all in like gravestones and stuff like that because they died abandoned. Like it's don't get me wrong, those are like interesting and like fun little concepts of like high concept kind of like philosophical things of like the idea of like abandoning things that are like toys.
Yeah.
But like for like an actual like dynamic visceral scare or like a visceral like consequence. This one breaks away from like a lot of the Pokepastas where it kind of has the same hit of as like it was all a dream.
I think all the Pokepastas, honestly. I don't remember any that actually leave a lasting impact on the
player?
narrator in a supernatural and fucked up way.
Yeah, like It's like I remember Pokemon Black actually, like even like Pokemon Spooky Black or Pokemon Creepy Black, which is the one where like they get this like this hack of a game or something like that from like a thrift store or garage sale, and or like from a flea market, I think is what it was, and they pop it in. And it's basically like you get Ghost and it curses, and everybody ends up as like tombstones because like they're signifying that they're all dead. And then once you've beaten the game that way, it cuts to like years later, and your character's an old man, and the world is just empty except for all these gravestones, and until you're the only one left. And it's like, and the story ends with the character like, I have played this game, and it has made me scared, and it has made me sad. Like, and I don't get me wrong, I love those kind of ideas and stuff for a game because it's like it's not like it's not there's consequence, but it's more of like emotional damage rather than like any kind of like physical or even spiritual damage.
Yeah, and those kind of stories are fun in the same way of like sitting down and watching a horror movie or playing a horror video game that's designed to be a normal, non-supernatural horror game.
Yeah.
Like you can play through the game and be unsettled and uncomfortable and sad by the end of it, but it's still just something you could have turned the TV off at on any time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when a creepypasta diverts from that and goes like, I tried turning off the game or I tried turning off the TV and it wouldn't work.
Yes.
Like that's when it's like, all right, shit's hitting the fan. You about to get fucked, son. Mm-hmm. Like that's when things get more interesting from like a more dynamic or like visceral level.
Yeah, because it's so easy to just turn away from something that's happening on a screen, forcing the narrator to continue and having a lasting impact on them. If a story does both of those things, then it's a win, in my book at least.
Yeah, because I think, and this is sort of an interesting thing because it's like when something does it like that, it also adds a level of fantasy or like it's like the story realized like, all right, up to this point we've been pretty grounded in the situation here. But this is a fucking this is a fucking piece of fiction, sir. We can go wild.
Yep.
And it's like, what if your game said no, you you tried to turn it off?
Yep.
Yeah. So also, I think it's like definitely a difference between like cerebral horror and like a visceral horror or like supernatural horror.
Yeah. And to pull away from the supernatural to a more mundane one, I can't remember the name of the story off the top of my head, but there was a story where, in the past that we did, where the narrator's playing a game and they're like finding coordinates in the game or something.
Oh,
and the coordinates, huh?
Pale Luna.
Yeah, and the coordinates lead to like where a murderer was like burying bodies in real life.
Yeah, it was like
basically spreading that information through the game.
Yeah, and the game itself was like on a floppy disk or a CD that was like going around various like gaming circles in the 90s. Yeah. And like it was actually like the game itself was actually this like a roadmap to like the killer's like victim, like where they were buried.
Yeah, and that is another way to do like legit like unsettling fucked up shit without doing any supernatural shit at all.
Yeah, because that's just straight up like a mundane, like I don't think it's cyber horror, but it's like basically like the serial killer is catching up to the times kind of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, even in that, where most video game creepypastas, like I said, I want the character to be forced to continue to play, and I want the character to have lasting effects based on what's happening. In that, you don't need either of those. Because the whole fucked up thing is, it's something that could theoretically happen for real. Just someone making something and putting it out there, and like the real life connections to, this could be actually happening.
Yeah, the plausibility, the horror of plausibility, also the horror of like people doing this kind of thing, like that, and we know for a fact, unfortunately, that like some psychos out there do this kind of thing. And also just that revelation that hits at the very end or like near the end of the story when you realize that's what the story's been leading up to.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. It's like when like you're like playing this like cutesy game, and then it turns out the whole cutesy game was actually a metaphor for this like serial killer's like manifesto. But yeah, Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that
I'm
up.
about
That,
to
like,
say none of that is the story.
no, but like again, it brings up that like yeah, this story.
Yes.
Like I like how this story actually broke the mold of a lot of Pokepastas fall into, where it's not just like it's not a short term consequential effect to the protagonist or to the victim of the story. This is a long term, like eternal soul sort of thing.
Yeah, the
happening to the
longest of
character.
terms.
Yeah. So and it was a nice like revelation about the end when we got it.
Hmm.
I actually have to look through where am I now in the story. Okay, I think this is my last one I have here. Why I was listening. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I'll bring it up later.
Why I was listening to this, watching it all play out when I could easily just turn it off or start a completely new game, I don't know. The thought simply didn't cross my mind at the time. I don't think it was allowed to. Okay, I'm glad it added that last part, whereas like I don't think I was allowed to, because insinuating that perhaps like Biel's was exerting some kind of control over Nair and like making them sign the deal kind of thing. Because otherwise I was gonna call shenanigans and like this is really silly. Why did you not like this is a bad idea as I'm just gonna write my name because for lol YOLO. So I'm glad that it brings up that like I don't know, I don't think I was allowed to like consider like I shouldn't do this.
Yes.
But yeah, just again furthering the whole thing. It was just like I like how the story like for like most of the time the story does actually like legitimize what the mistakes the character is making, or it's like they're explaining the mistakes they're making in the so I appreciated that as well in the story, because like otherwise I was just like this is kind of silly, why are you writing your name? There's so many red flags here.
One thing that I wish happened is okay, she starts writing Dust, I believe his name was the character's
Yeah.
name, and then Beelzebub's like, no, your real name. And then she starts writing in her brother's name. And he's like, no, your real name. So
Yes.
like
Oh my god, that would be so good.
that'd be a very much a nope situation. Like, nope, I'm out. But still, yeah.
Because like I could even see it like maybe like because first time it's like no, your real name is like okay, haha, this is like Psycho Mantis in
Yes.
that one Metal Gear Solid game where like the psychic reads your personal information on your console or on your
Yeah, on your
game
account
disc.
if you have
Yeah,
like a name put it.
yeah, exactly. So like maybe like like I'll write my brother's name. Like maybe that's like maybe it means that. It's like no, your name. It's like and then if it actually said a name, that would have been even like better.
Yeah.
But it's fine the way that they don't add the name in this one. It's just like we're just going to use Nair for it. But yeah, I did like that. It was just like that. Yeah, it's very much a Psycho Mantis maneuver. But yeah, that's the end of my actual thoughts. So, Gamer, what do you have?
Let's see. Okay, so right off the bat, it's talking about how fourth generation was a letdown. So her brother's just like, here, take my Pokemon shit. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
What was wrong with fourth generation? Was it just not liked?
I don't know. I liked fourth generation. Like I'm assuming fourth generation was Diamond and Pearl, which it gave us the weird like creepy like legendary jellyfish monsters that are kind of like aspects of different like mind things. Which I mean, I don't. Maybe I like that because it was Cthulhu, kind of like Cthulhu stuff.
Yeah.
Before we got the actual Cthulhu of Pokemon with the like Darkrai and like that, and like the one big legendary Pokemon that's like sleeping in a sunken city under the waves.
For real?
Yeah, I can't remember the one its name, but like basically it's the Cthulhu of Pokemon.
Nice.
Hang on, I'm actually gonna look this up. Fourth generation
Cthulhu Pokemon.
Oh, like fourth generation was it had Empoleon, like the penguin starter and stuff like that, and the turtle with the tree starter. So I think this was also the one with the fire monkey.
Chimchar?
Yeah, Chimchar. Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know that.
Oh, you know what's funny? Actually, this Generation 4 also did actually have the Cthulhu monster in Platinum, which was the third game of Generation 4, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
I didn't know if
I don't know,
Gen
like
4 was like hated by most people, or it's just, people can like and hate different things. It's fine. Cultist has gone down a rabbit hole.
I'm literally looking at, is Gen 4 Pokemon hated? Why is and the first thing that comes up that people ask, why is Gen 4 so loved?
Oh, really?
Generation 4 contains some of the most distinctive and interesting Pokemon designs in the game, right down to the early bugs and birds. It's thanks to this variety of Pokemon to love that, or this variety of Pokemon to love, that this generation holds a special place for so many people's hearts. So yeah, I guess maybe he just didn't care for it. Like maybe he just did, like he does. It does kind of bring up that like he didn't care for like the graphics or like the style. So like
he might have just aged out of it too.
Yeah, that's also probably what it was. Like some people age out of Pokemon. So yeah. I couldn't even continue on that sentence. Like, yeah, no, some people just age out. I didn't, but some people do.
Some people.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I did another quick Google of pros and cons of Pokemon generations. On Generation 4, it says, like, the downside, worst. While Generation 4 is highly regarded, there are no significant drawbacks that stand out.
Wow.
Thanks.
That really helps. Like, I know, I think graphic-wise, I believe Pokemon Diamond and Pearl was, like, one of the first, like, 3D ones, because it went to, like, the DS. So maybe like maybe like if it wasn't just that he grew out of it, maybe he just didn't like that it was no longer like sprite based.
Oh, maybe.
I'm gonna double check actually. Pokemon Diamond gameplay.
It's like if it's not 2D, this ain't my Pokemon anymore.
Yeah,
which is fair.
Oh, yeah, it is. No, it's still 2D, or like. It's more on an angle, but it's like it's still like got the 2D like.
Are they sprites?
Design. No, they're not sprites. Oh, they are sprites, but they're like more. It's like a weird combination between like 2D sprites and 3D characters, because like they have shading, but they're all like it's all 2D shade, like 2D like pixelated sprite animation. But they've added it's like halfway between 3D graphics and pixel art.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they hadn't actually gotten to the point where it was like full on like character models, like 3D character models, and like using the engine of the DS to its its maximum.
Mm-hmm. Either way, he's allowed to not like it. We can
yeah. Yeah. Long story short.
Yeah, really. So I get on reading, and then like Nair starts mentioning all the weird stuff that's happening after getting Hellbell and stuff, and I don't really like how Nair is basically taking everything in stride. Like yes, he says like all the hell symbolism is weird, but that's about it. She just rolls with everything that's happening.
Yeah,
and like it's partially explained because like. Okay. The reason that Nair goes through most of this is explained out basically a lot in the story itself. Because Nair says like, oh, the stats are weird because it's a hack. And like Nair has ran into other Pokemon games where the Pokemon don't want to leave the party. Like that's an actual thing that's apparently in the game.
Yeah.
And like there's systems in the game that deny trading. That's why she couldn't trade back or something. Like
so they're explaining away all the weirdness.
Yeah, it's all set up with believable, already programmed reasons into the game. But I feel like that stops or at least hinders any creepiness from being able to build. At least up until this point.
Yeah.
Because the only odd thing up to that point is like when you take the note off the Pokemon, it writes another one. But that could also just be programmed.
Yeah, that could, like maybe that's how like the Pokemon, like they've decided to add, like they've had some scripted events happen for the Pokemon. Like if card is removed from Pokemon's inventory, add a new one with this like message kind of thing.
Yeah, basically, and like what I
Yeah.
said before, technically, it's for all Nair knows, as soon as you get that Pokemon, any of the what the hell's the Pokemon name?
Hellbell or Bronzong?
Bronzong, yeah.
Yeah.
For all we know, or for all Nair knows, as soon as you get a Bronzong in the game at all, it puts you on this quest line as like backstory for the Pokemon. Like it's entirely plausible up until this point. And then we get later on where she brings Bronzong over to like the tombstone that breaks after a bell tolls.
Yeah.
And even then it's explained that it breaks just like if someone used Rock Smash on it.
Yeah, so it's using the game's like in-game mechanics.
Yeah, and that's great if this was a fan-created hack of the game, since they're using assets that are already in the game to tell the story. But this seems like it's meant to be a supernatural creepypasta of sorts. I'm writing this in the moment, keep in mind. And as such, I feel like it should have the ability to render things as it wants, not just how the game is coded.
Yeah.
That being said, maybe the only way that Hellbell can communicate is through in-game assets, so his ghost or whatever that has corrupted his game to like hack the gameplay, like that's how he's communicating. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and that is actually a very common thing that like ghosts in ghosts and even like demon stuff, like they can't break the laws of physics in the material world, but they can use they use like their surroundings to try and like manifest. So in this case, like the demon is using pixel art and like the Pokemon coding, the Pokemon code to kind of like manifest itself.
Mm-hmm. It does mask the supernatural things going on, but that's also probably what DLs wants. He doesn't want this to be overly fucked up because then they won't go through.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Go
ahead.
I was just like, to kind of like, not maybe this isn't a counter to what you're getting at, but like, I honestly think like all that mundane like explanation does kind of prime you up for like a nice drop where it like actually drops no, this is supernatural right at the end. It's like,
yeah,
that's why this is creepy.
Yeah, which is basically what I was going to go in with the next one. Like,
okay, yeah.
When I reached the bottom, I was met with a narrow path with large pools of magma and lava on either side. It was beginning to look more like the cave in which you encounter Guron in RS. What?
Groudon. It's Groudon.
Is that Groudon?
Yeah.
I wasn't reading right. Groudon in RSE with better graphics, of course. So as soon as I read that, I was like, okay, so now it's finally rendering things that aren't programmed in the game. So it's starting to get weird here. But that being said, for all she knows, this area is actually programmed in the game.
Yeah, this could actually be like beyond the walls of like what the player gets to play in. Like this could be like one of those like basically like an asset area.
Yeah.
Or like or discarded level that the game has in it.
Every Pokemon game is in a different region, right?
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. So like if like that that area, that cave where you get Groudon in RSE, that's from a different game, which is in technically a different country in the Pokemon world.
Yeah.
So in this game, that area would not theoretically be here unless it's on some weird planar dimension or some shit where you can jump in between it, right?
Yeah. Like I'm thinking like they just took like this could also be like they may have taken assets from the previous games, like using that engine or something, maybe like for this one, but yeah.
But there wouldn't be assets from the previous game in the current game because they would only keep current game assets on the current game.
You're probably right, especially in this case. You're probably right. I was gonna counter you with like, I mean, like there are several Nintendo games that were basically using that were fairly new that used the previous games like assets and game files and such. But you're right in this case though.
Probably. Yeah. Also, it does say it's beginning to look more like it's not like it's an exact copy.
Yeah.
So it's just similar, extremely similar, but similar.
Yeah.
So I can let that go. But either way, yeah, that's when I started actually seeing a little bit of the creepiness. And then the name shows up, and that's where the actual creepiness.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nair gets taken and all that. And she says, I can't sleep. Food seems to turn into ash in my mouth. No water can quench my thirst. And people and animals both act as if the shadow of death is passing by them when I'm near. So, first off, she does say that she was like wearing pure black, so maybe she's just super goth. She's just a super goth chick, so like everyone gets that vibe anyways. But joking aside, I do wonder if like the food turning to ash is like legit doing that, or this is just a flowery way of saying that she doesn't get any sustenance from food anymore.
So you know what this brought to mind, actually?
What was that?
In Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, there is literally a very similar line said by Barbossa, the Captain Barbossa, the captain of the bad pirates, who are also undead because of a curse. Where it's like I can't drink, I can't feel, like food turns to ash in my mouth. I've not felt the warmth of a woman's flesh, like, and like that kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah, basically like she's sort of like that, like and the moonlight is what like reveals the pirates to be like undead skeletal like beings. But like every elsewise, like any other light source like reveals like shows like them as like normal, except for the fact that they're like disgusting pirates. So
of course,
so like maybe that's the case for Nair here, is that like she does have like an aura of like of unholy death upon her, because she's basically like, when the moonlight, if the moonlight shines down on her, she like she becomes like a skeletal like demonic form, because her soul's been taken.
And because like there's like legit supernatural shit going on with demons and such, food might literally be turning to ash.
Yeah.
I do wonder what her parents think about this happening, though. Like, witnessing this happening too,
or like, or maybe she like maybe she's been like keeping it away from her parents, or maybe she doesn't live at home anymore. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. We don't know the age of the character.
Yeah, exactly. Like they could be in their college year, in like their college. They could be like college age and just not living at home, kind of thing.
Could be, yeah. Or it could be a situation where BL's basically doesn't give her the option to show people what's happening.
Yeah.
So basically, it's making her into like, I'm fine, Mom. You don't understand me. Yeah, just that era. It's like, oh, it's teenagers.
You're not eating your mashed potatoes, honey. It's like, it's just gonna turn to ash in my mouth. What was that? Nothing.
I mean, at that point, she could just straight up say it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like anyone's gonna believe her too. Is the other thing.
No, just pictures like, see, watch. Just like immediately turns to ash. Like, as she like,
mashed potatoes are so fucking dry, Mom.
God.
Yeah.
Well, honey, get some water. It's like, it doesn't work. God, yeah.
Starts pouring water in her mouth, and it's just like at the like opening of her lips, it's just like not even going past. It's bouncing off and going all over.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's just go rolling past her mouth.
Yeah, it's like a force field.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, either way, as you said before, and as I chimed in, I do like that something happening to a protagonist in a Pokemon creepypasta. Hooray! It happened. I do wonder if she's either going to die from this happening, or she's just immortal because of this happening.
I also got the impression that like this is her torment. Like, she will not die from this, but she's always going to be hungry, and she's always going to be thirsty. And now that so part of me was actually kind of bugged that they used Beelzebub, because Beelzebub is Beelzebub's sin is gluttony. And I was like, what does that have to do with like people cheating and Pokemon trading and stuff like that? And then I just realized, oh, it's because she can't drink or eat.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with Pokemon specifically.
That's the punishment of gluttony.
Yeah,
that's Beelzebub's domain, or like their deadly sin is gluttony.
I didn't realize that, actually. That just connects this even better.
To be fair, I only know that because of Hell of a Boss, which is this like demon hell cartoon on YouTube.
Yeah. and I mean, I've learned dumb shit from even dumber locations, so that's fine.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm also pretty sure that's one that is their sin in like actual demonology. But yeah, I definitely only know that like off the top of my head right now because of fucking Hell of a Boss.
We will assume this silly cartoon is accurate with this information.
I mean, they got Asmodeus.
We'll go on
right.
record with it.
They did get Asmodeus right, so like that Hell Prince is in charge of lust, in real demonology and in the show. So I can only assume that Beelzebub is in charge of gluttony because in some demonology circles.
Beelzebub means Lord of Flies. Translated to mean Lord of Dung or Lord of Filth. Yep, representing gluttony and envy.
Okay. Oh, maybe envy is also the sin for Nair here because she was jealous of her brother having Pokemon Diamond for so long.
Oh,
reading way into
we're not realizing.
I'm just like reading like this is just like going deep into like reading into things.
Wow.
Because again, like it's a cool idea to have like a demon like be basically like catching souls through this game and stuff like that. Like I love that idea. I just but when you do that, I want to know the more of the supernatural mechanics behind it.
Yeah, like why he's choosing to do this through Pokemon.
Yeah, like why is he targeting people through this game? Like what is the vice? What is the sin that he's catching people with?
Does he have to catch sinners though?
I mean, that's generally what demons do. But
I mean, I guess, yeah.
They lead people astray so that they can like navigate.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically all my notes until finals.
Okay.
It sounds like I'm studying for a test.
Yeah, the Pokemon finals. Yeah.
Yeah. Or that, yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So on to final thoughts.
The gym leader battle.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still gonna partially recommend this, though probably on the higher end of partial, because I really do like the ideas here. And the only reason I'm giving it really a partial is because I think there's a little bit more work can be done to the story to make it better. Like a few fixes here and there and some modifications. Like I think the story would if it had a couple of those like fixes and modifications that we brought up in the story in our actual thoughts, I think I would give it a full recommendation. Otherwise, I really enjoyed the concept and the promise of this story. And even
promise or premise?
No, the promise. Like it has promise.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Like it has potential. I really like that it broke away from the mold of a lot of Pokepasta tropes in that it's something that actually happens. Something bad happens to the player long term rather than like short term or like cerebrally. So yeah, I partially recommend on the high end. Room for improvement. But yeah. Gamer Nil, your final thoughts?
So I said partial at the start, but like the more I'm thinking about it, I do like this. Mm-hmm. Like the start of it is really slow, which is part of the reason why I initially went partial. Because like the first 3/4 of the story is really slow and dry, to be perfectly honest.
It's a text let's play basically.
Yeah. But like as we got discussing things, it does kind of lead you into a false sense of security, being like, oh, it's just going to be a mundane, or not mundane. Oh, it could be mundane. Nothing's going to happen to the character. There's this thing be spooked and all that because nothing overtly supernatural is happening. And then all of a sudden, it's like, bam, supernatural.
Bam, I'm the devil. Right in your name. Yeah, sign the contract. You're mine. Get over here.
Yeah. Yeah. It hits you very sudden, and I appreciate that. And
it hits you very suddenly, like the bell, like the bell toll.
Mm-hmm. Just like Hellbell wiggling his tail, aka the little thing in the middle of the bell that hits. What's that thing called?
I honestly don't know. Yeah, really
we'll call it donger. That sounds bad though.
I was going to call it the
donger in there.
A bell's uvula.
Yeah, kind of. technically. Either way, while yes, there are some aspects to potentially improve, like in my own opinion, I would personally like it if she starts writing her brother's name. It's like, no, not his name, your name. Like, oh god, I would love that.
Yeah.
But even without that, I still honestly enjoyed the read. So I'm still gonna give it a recommendation with a super recommendation if a couple of things were changed.
Gotcha.
Especially like compared to other Pokepastas, like I don't want to shit on Pokepastas, but I'm gonna shit on Pokepastas because most of them aren't super scary, you know?
And I think part of that is because a lot of the time Pokepastas are written by high schoolers or like a younger authorship. And we're getting older. So like
the fiddle.
so like so things that like scare teenagers or like high schoolers may not scare us as much, or we might kind of find more silly nowadays.
Yeah,
But
or
like,
just because we have so much exposure to so many
all that
different
stuff.
varied types of creepypastas that like we have to compare what we're reading to those.
Like I look back on a lot of Pokepastas very fondly. Not because I'm scared of them, but because like, oh, that's so quaint. That's so like
Raven.
No, it's just like goddamn. It's just so like there's a nostalgia vibe because of like it's spooky, like somebody trying to make a spooky thing out of a Pokemon, and like Pokemon can be really fucking creepy.
Yeah, Cubone.
Cubone, Palisand, like where Drifloon literally drags children to hell.
Oh, that's nice of him.
Like yeah, there's all manner of Pokemon that there's a fucking ghost dog Pokemon that like the more you hang out, the more you hang out with it and like pet it and cuddle it, the more it's siphoning your life away.
You know, for kids.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so again, see the fact that there's a Cthulhu analog in the Pokemon universe.
Yeah, there's so much dark shit. Even like lightly dark shit, like Charmander. If the freaking fire on his tail goes out, he dies.
So, this actually was brought to my attention from Kame House Party podcast when back in October 2023 they did a slew of creepypasta readings based off of things I suggested to them. One of them was Pokemon Creepy Black, and as they were reading that one, after they finished reading it, they started like bringing up like some of the like creepy trivia from Pokemon. And one of them that I did not realize, but it's like, oh, that is so horrifying. Yamask is a Pokemon, a ghost type Pokemon that is a ghost Pokemon that was originally a human ghost that still retains its memories of of being human. And the mask that it carries around with it bears a resemblance to its original human face.
That's fucked up, actually.
So like imagine like so wait like in the cosmology of like the spirituality of Pokemon world, people's souls become ghost type Pokemon, and this particular ghost type Pokemon retains its human memories of when it was alive. And they are basically like enslaved by youths to fight other Pokemon.
Yeah, they're probably not okay with that.
Like, yeah, no, they cry like that's why he's like it's always crying.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, it is crying.
And then there's also Mimikyu.
Yeah,
the Pokemon that like dresses up to look in this like ragdoll looking version of like Pikachu. And the reason it does that is because its visage is so horrifying that if you were to look at it, like look upon its actual form underneath the costume, you would die from fright.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
There is so much cool dark lore in Pokemon. So I understand
it's so
why
small though, because its eyes are way down there.
I know, but like it's actually like that that's all basically like shadow, or like you're not actually supposed to see its true form because most of it's hidden in that creepy ratty costume it has. And the reason it chose Pikachu as a form for its costume is because it was the most liked Pokemon.
Aw.
Yeah, he
just wants to be friend.
Yeah. So like again, I look at like I understand why a lot of people, especially like a lot of kids and a lot of high schoolers and stuff like that, make Pokepastas because you get exposed to this really cool, creepy, dark lore from the trivia in the Pokedex about a Pokemon like really early on. So yeah.
Yeah.
Also, for something we said earlier, the tongue of a bell, the little thing that bangs it in on the inside of a bell,
Yes.
is called a tongue or the clapper.
Wait, it's called a tongue?
Yeah, the tongue of a bell.
Oh,
the
wow.
part inside that swings and makes the bell ring is called the clapper.
Damn.
Thank you, vocabulary.com.
We're learning.
Oh. But yeah, so yeah, I guess all this to say, we both, for the most part, we both actually do recommend this story. Just like I could use it to have a little bit more work done to it. But again, otherwise, like I like the idea. We both like the ideas behind the story, and it kind of sets itself apart because of that from other Pokepastas that we've done in the past.
Yeah, and like early on when I had the light revelation of, oh yeah, right, she's writing this down after all these events happened, hence why she's not reacting a whole lot to the weird stuff that's potentially happening in the initial playthrough, because this is all remembering what happened, not a direct transcript of things happening in the moment.
Yeah.
And this is all with the overlay of my life is fucked up now. I need to write this down
to warn others not to fall into the same trap.
Yes.
Yeah.
So pretty much by the end of the story, most of my problems with the story kind of got taken care of. So that's why my recommendation changed some.
All right. And I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're all on Twitter in some varying capacity.
I'm really not.
Gamer is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end because his name is very long.
Yeah.
And I'm at Review Cultist. I'm also on Blue Sky, so you can check me out there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tiers with special episodes, early access, and extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these stories that you write and post online for people to look at and get spooked at or enjoy, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been very strange to say that because I was expecting Mikey to pipe in.
Yep. Always going to be weird.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.